Hey everybody, it's Big Daddy. So here we are with another Big Daddy and Friends, and we had a surprise. Look at this. Look at this great background. I'm in studio now. I'm not sitting down. And anyway, I have a great guest, a guy who is a dear friend I've known for many years, and he's put in 17 of them in the NFL. At probably one of the toughest positions out there because he played fullback, and there's a lot of blocking. There's not a lot of touchdowns, but it never goes unnoticed, especially if you're a football person. So to all the viewers and all the fans, let's welcome Tony Richardson. How you doing, Tony?
You know, Big Daddy, I'm doing great. Anytime I'm in the presence of greatness, obviously we're doing it over Zoom, but to actually see you at the game on Sunday and to see you and hang out with you today, it makes my day.
Well, thank you. And listen, it's my honor and privilege, man. I mean, it's like anytime I can get any of my friends to come on and we share a story and we get to let people know how it started, why it started, where it started, and where it's going. So, you know, obviously I know the whole story and I want to share with all the viewers and listeners, at what age did the love of football come to you and where did that happen?
You know, Big Daddy, my story is a little bit different. Obviously, you know, my dad's a military man, Vietnam veteran, 32 years, Purple Heart. So I was actually born in Frankfurt, Germany. And so obviously growing up in Germany, football, you know, obviously like Strahan and
yeah.
You know, in that career. But you know, the fact like in Germany, it's just very difficult to kind of pursue your dreams from a football standpoint. So I kind of grew up playing soccer and, you know, just riding a bike, just being a normal kid. And so we moved every 2 to 3 years. And in all those places that we moved, you know, whether it was Fort Knox, Kentucky, whether it was, Stuttgart, any of these different places. Finally, when I got to Alabama was when I went out for the football team, and that was like my 9th grade going into my 10th grade year. And things just started to, I guess, kind of snowball, and I started, you know, get into a football body, started to understand the game. And then we got a new high school football coach, and he said, if you work really hard, you can get a football scholarship. And that's when that light really came on for me.
That's I know that whole feeling because it was like I went to a school where as a 7th grader I was an equipment manager, ball boy, water boy.
Yeah.
But I kept seeing all these different guys that, you know, big schools were coming in and they were getting recruited and they were getting scholarships, and I was like, man, I hope that could be me one day. You know, maybe I'll get that lucky and, you know, I'll work hard. And there was a lot of hard workers around me, so I understood what it took. And everything at my high school was about winning. We had a lot of winning years and so many different guys that went on to play major college football. And we've only had 2 guys that I believe went to the NFL, and that was Bob Avellini, the old Bears quarterback, and also Pete Koch, who, you know, claimed to fame. Obviously, he was a first-round pick, and he got into Hollywood, and, you know, he was the Swede in Heartbreak Ridge, who I still communicate with and has been a guest on this show. So that same light and bell hit me, but so now take it to the next step. You notice that you're a good player. You want to play at the next level. What happens next?
Yeah, so, you know, ended up getting a scholarship, going to Auburn University, and much like that success you were used to being around in high school, so many guys that had went on to, you know, play, big time football, and we had a lot of guys that went on to play big-time football, and so I started to see these guys come back. Obviously, when you get to Auburn, there's guys by the name of Bo Jackson, Tommy Agee. There's all these guys that had come before you, and that's when the light started to come on, just to understand that, you know, potentially something good can happen. And then my senior year, we went undefeated, and then the NFL scouts started coming around, but even then, still didn't get drafted, but ended up with the Dallas Cowboys, and so that's kind of when everything took off. I
mean, it's, you know, listen, when you and I may be a little biased because we're friends, but, you know, when you think of fullbacks right away, you think of you think of Darryl Johnston. I mean, other than that, I don't really, and maybe I'll get beat up for this, but, you know, you are the 2 that really come to mind when it comes to that position. And for you especially to do it for so long, as, you know, for so many years like you have, I mean, that's incredible. You know, obviously the average career of an NFL player, what is it, 2.5, 3 years? And for you to go 17, man, that's impressive. And it deserves an applause and a salute and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, you know, for me, and I always go back to those early years of mentorship. And so when I went to the Dallas Cowboys in 1994, walking in the locker room, I see a locker number 22, and it's Emmitt Smith. And to see those guys who had just come off back-to-back Super Bowls, you know, the Michael Irvins, the Troy Aikmans, the Daryl Johnsons, and really take me under their wing and kind of show me, you know, what it's like. And I think in everything, if it's business, if it's television, if it's anything, you always want to try to latch on to people who've done it before and done it at a high level, and then just kind of sit back and learn. And then I go to Kansas City and obviously know my dear buddy Marcus Allen really well. And then I have Marcus Allen, who Hall of Famer, same thing. And they kind of just showed me the ropes. So when people say, man, how'd you last 17 years? I always go back to just having mentors, having guys that were on a Hall of Fame path, and for them just to really take the time and really show me the ropes and show me what being a true professional was all about. I think that's the only reason I was able, and obviously you got to stay healthy, but I think that was the main reason why I was so long.
Well, it's funny. I remember one of those years when you were in Kansas City. You guys used to, I believe, had training camp like in Wisconsin, if I recall.
Yeah, River Falls.
And I'll never forget. I was with our mutual friend Mike Newsom at Nike, and we drove out. And we're in this restaurant. All of a sudden, here comes you, Tony Gonzalez, and I forget who else. And I was like scratching my head. I'm like, oh, man, we're in the middle of nowhere, and look who's walking in. But, I remember, those training camp visits there because I got to do it twice. So it's always fun to learn and watch. And it's great that you see guys when they used to play, and then all of a sudden you see them, 15, 20 years down the road. And, you kind of, you catch up, you tell stories, you have laughs, and that's what this show's about. It's really, I always say it's about telling the story behind the stories and just cutting it up. And, I had Andy Reid on here, and we talked about food. I figure the two of us talking about food, and one of his favorite dishes. But it's, now you leave the NFL, and now you're still working with the NFL. So explain to the viewers and listeners what you got going on there.
Yeah, this is probably, because everyone always wonders what guys do after football and what kind of moves the needle. Obviously, that competitive spirit is always in there, but also and I think that's the reason why you and I get along so well, is because we're all about serving and helping other people, whether it's charity, whether it's our friends or different things like that. So I had an opportunity through the National Football League. We built a program called Legends Community, and it was in existence about 2 years prior to me joining, and Chad Pennington actually had my role. So I'm the Northeast coordinator for Legends Community, and literally meet guys where they are. Some guys have been out of the league for 5 years of transition. Some guys have been out for 20 years and still transitioning. So the biggest thing we want to do is to help them with all their benefits, all their resources that's available to them, and just be their support system and just understand the power of the shield and what that means and how we can elevate what they're currently doing, or at least get them into the next path in their career goals. And that's the one thing that really moves the needle in my life today.
I hear you. You know what? It's I'm fortunate to have relationships with people like you, and all the way from the head man up top to the commissioner, all the way down to equipment managers around the league. I tell people all the time, relationships are very important. And you know what? Don't forget somebody. The same people you meet on the way up, you're going to meet on the way down, whether you like it or not. And I always remember this growing up. I got introduced to all of this football world and everything when I was a young guy in high school, and guys were equipment people. And then all of a sudden, one guy went to the NFL, one guy went to a shoe company, one guy went here, everybody went somewhere. And you always remember those people, whether they did anything for you or not. And the one thing I'll always say this is that I get to meet a lot of people, even though I may not do business with them. They come from a referral, like, you may say to somebody, hey, when you get to New York, you should look up Big Daddy, blah, 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 blah. And listen, that's it. It's great because you know what? If you have something to share and you're sharing something good, then share it. As long as it's with good people and you surround yourself with good people. Yeah,
I agree with you, 100%, because a lot of times it's not necessarily always about, a business deal, but like you said, it's more of just relationships. And it might be something like you said that it could be 2 or 3 people removed, but somebody's like, oh yeah, I know Big Daddy. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, Big Daddy connect me with this person, it's this person. Well, like I said, if you got something good and you can help someone, why keep it a secret? And I think that's what makes our world and sports such a beautiful thing, because we build so many relationships that start maybe a rookie year and then obviously evolve all the way until after you finish playing. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's funny, we talked about being at the Jet game the other day, running into Glenn Foley. I hadn't seen him since he left playing football. It's been a while, and it was like, wow, man, we caught up and this and that, and you always, I remember when he first got to I watched him play at Boston College, not to age myself, but, you remember all these things, and it's like, wow, man. And the one thing I always tell people is that I am the luckiest guy on the planet because I've been able to do many things, meet many people, travel many places. I've been to 30-something Super Bowls and Pro Bowls and all that. And you know what? I never forget it because it's important. And I feel blessed to be invited to these things and be allowed to attend these things. And our jobs are grinds. It's a grind. Think about it. If you go Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Combine, Draft, and everything else in between, you're like, when do you stop? A lot of people just see the fun part and the games and all that, but, a game day is a work day for me, because if it's a 1 o'clock game, I'm there at 10:30. And then by the time you see your people after, I'm in the car at 6 o'clock. So you're like, wow, where'd the day go? And you know this. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely but it's something, I wouldn't change anything about it because like you said, it's definitely a grind, but it's a thing that, and that's one thing my dad always says is like, so I don't care how old you get, you never retire, because the minute you say in your mind, I'm retired, that's the minute you just start heading downhill. So I like it. I still like keeping that pace. I still like, during the game, run into, coaches or players and, look out there and see Leon Washington now coaching on the field, and we were teammates. And so to see all these guys, have success and just, and if you can support them and help them any way, that's what I really love. So yeah, that's what keep it moving for me.
Yeah, the guy that I always get a smile and a chuckle is Aaron Glenn. He's a defensive coordinator now. I mean, it's like, wow, I remember him when he got to the Jets. There's a funny story him and I have, and he's a good man, and I was so happy to see that he got rewarded with that, being asked to be a DC, and they'll turn it around up there in Detroit. So, he's a good man, and he deserves a shot. And there's a lot of other guys that deserve shots to advance and enhance their careers. And, I may sound a little biased. Obviously, my brother coaching in Buffalo, hey, I would love for him to be a head coach, but right now he's a safeties coach. But maybe one day he'll get there. So tell me, or tell all of us, your favorite moment in football.
For me, and I'm not biased because I still live here in New York, but people always ask me that. It's like, of all the games that you played and games you've been a part of and, blocking for this person or maybe scoring a touchdown. For me personally, my favorite game goes back to our last year with the Jets, and we had just got a mud hole stomped in us by the Patriots, and that earlier in that year, and then Rex took us out on the field. We pretty much dug a hole. We buried the tapes, buried the football, didn't watch them or anything like that. Later that year, we had a chance to go back to Foxborough. That was the Bar Scott Can't Wait game.
Yeah.
Literally, it was just like, because, it's one of those things, and you know it's just as well as I do. It's like sometimes on paper, people see like, man, there's no way in the world the Jets are going to be able to go up there and beat Tom Brady in Foxborough and Belichick. And we just jumped on the plane as a band of brothers and the organization, and the city believed us, and we went up there and we shocked the world. So for me, that was, because it's not about, me scoring a touchdown or anyone scoring a touchdown. It was more so 53 guys plus coaching staff believing in each other, setting a goal and getting up there and getting it done. That to me is one of my favorite football moments, and probably one of my favorite moments in life, just because it was so special.
Yeah, obviously we were both at that heartbreaking game on Sunday. I saw Tom Brady after the game, and I just said to him, I was like, man, you never seem to amaze me. It's you do it to everybody. I mean, if it's 10 times or you get 10 tries, he does it 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, and it's kind of funny to see and to see at the level that he's at right now. I mean, it's incredible, and it's kudos to him and obviously dedication, diet, and everything he's got going on. But I'll tell you, that's, he's in line with like you. Obviously, you guys both a lot of years, and obviously yours are a little bit more physical than his because he took hits. You took hits and gave hits, so that's a little different. But, it's very commendable. I mean, you can't not give credit where it's due. So the one thing that I have to ask is, okay, being in New York now all these years, we're going to have fun now. What's your top 3 restaurants in New York City?
Top 3 favorite restaurants, that's going to be tough. Let's see,
I
top
know.
3. I mean, if I had to go like, you say like, dollar amount or anything doesn't account, but just ambiance and everything else, you have to say Per Se.
Okay.
Per Se at Columbus Circle is, I've been to Per Se, I've been to French Laundry, and Per Se is probably my favorite restaurant in New York. If I'm going sushi, I'm going Blue Ribbon. I got to do Blue Ribbon Sushi. Blue Ribbon Sushi in Soho is probably one of my favorites. And if I'm doing pizza, and I know you got your spot up in up there by your way. I gotta go to Pauly G's in Brooklyn for pizza. Some of the best pizza right here across in Greenpoint. So those would be my top 3.
Got it.
I know you can say Umberto's, but
well, yeah, but listen, that story's old. Everybody kind of knows that, and everybody, and listen, people still. It's funny. I get people that I run into, and they're like, "Hey, I went to Umberto's because of you," and I'm like, "Really? Because of me?" I go, don't go because of me. Go because the pizza's good, And I always say that's a pizzeria, so go for the pizza. It's the best around. I mean, and I try other places, but obviously since I've become a little bit more health conscious, I'm trying to keep away from the pizza and all that. But anyway, so now here comes the fun part. I hand the mic over to you, and you get to ask me a question. So ask away, Tony.
Yeah, so for me, I know that a lot of people always want to talk about sports or whatever, but I think the thing that I'm most inspired by is you and how much you give. And I've done a lot of your foundation and charity. So I guess I'd have to say, of all the charities or of all the fundraisers, all the things you've been able to do, and I know that's going to be very difficult, which one would you say has been the most impactful and the one that probably means the most of all the opportunities you've had to give back?
You know what? I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm going to answer this real quick. The football camp. Even though it's not really a charity, it's really about giving back to my hometown. And obviously having a brother who's a coach in the NFL, him being the head coach, and then me having the good fortune of having people like yourself, and, there's Eric Coleman, there's Neil O'Donnell, there's Devin McCourty, there's a whole list of Steve Spagnuolo, Linda Wells. What's that?
Adam Schefter.
Yep, Adam Schefter, can't forget Adam. I mean, it's you and, you got my boys Brian Kilmeade and Pete Hegseth at Fox News. I mean, all these guys give of their time, like everyone says to me, do you pay these guys? How do they? And I'm like, no, everyone drives themselves. They give their time. I mean, Coach Spags, he drove up from the Jersey Shore being on vacation and drove all the way up, and my brother and I, we're just, we're both ecstatic, elated, happy, and so grateful that all of you guys give up your time to come and educate children on the game of football. And Brian Baldinger, who's from Long Island as well, comes back every year. And I always steal this line from him because it always stuck with me from the first year that he came. He said, if all the campers could take something away from this camp and bring it back to your school and share it with your teammates, your coaches, then we as coaches and teachers did our job. Yep. And I'll never forget that. I always remember that. I always use it. And I always tell Baldy, he gets the credit for it because he came up with it. And I think that's really what, to see these kids come up to you and hug you and cheer you and be so happy, because not only are you giving them, players and coaches, whether they're current or retired, then, we have our training table thing every night where we feed all the campers with, Umberto's or Chick-fil-A or, Cardinale Bakery gives out cakes and cookies and cannoli. I mean, it's just, La Bodega, they make sandwiches. I mean, it's a whole, process, and we try to make it as much of like an NFL training camp, and to share what the good fortune that I've had, my brothers have had, to be able to do the things that we do. That meant the world to me. And it's important to give back. And, kids are important. It's, I've learned it all these years now, and I stick to it. So anyway, Tony, let's share your social media where everybody can find you, because everyone wants to follow successful people and good people, and that's definitely you. So let everybody know where your social media outlets.
Yep. So Twitter is @49TRich. Instagram is private, but I always accept people. So it's Tony Rich NY. And then my Facebook page is just Tony Richardson, and it's open to the public. I got to delete some, not friends, but I got to unload a few. I can add some more, but everyone knows that problem on Facebook. So yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate, giving me an opportunity to share, and obviously share my social media.
Well, no, listen, we always try to let people know where to find people, how to follow people. If you got something that you want to share, promote, we have a great following, and listen, that's what friends are here for, to help their friends out and do it without expecting anything back. That's the one thing I always tell people. I hate to ask them. I'm the last guy. I hate to ask people for things. You know what? I get asked a zillion times for many things, but for me, it's really, one of those things where I'm like, oh, man, do I really have to, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother this guy, that guy. But listen, at the end of the day, everybody's here to help everybody. So anyway, Tony Richardson, thank you for coming on Big Daddy and Friends. And to everyone that's out there watching, listening, viewing, Skyping, whatever it is that you're doing, make sure you follow us at www.sportsnut, which is spelled NAUT.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and we're on YouTube.com under Big Daddy and Friends. Until next time, we'll see everybody real soon. And Tony, thank you again, my man. I appreciate you coming, and I'll see you real soon.